James Carville is known as the Raging Cajun in the business.
So let me tell you what's at stake in this election.
It's the economy, stupid.
Still a possibility that Donald John Trump is suffering from late-stage venereal disease.
To say this does not make me into a bedwetter or whatever loser.
Could we please find somebody under 75 to be our president? We have not had an inspirational presidential candidate since 2012. We have a president that does not respect our institutions, does not respect the limited powers, the separation of powers that we have in our Constitution. I can think of no bigger crisis this country's been in my lifetime, ever.
Right, James.
All right.
Very good to see you. Very good to see you. I want to start with something that Secret said there when she was quoting Harry Evans. Harry Evans, by the way, was, you should say never meet your heroes. He was one of my heroes and he became a friend. And he really was what I believe to be a great journalist and the best of journalism. Is Trump trying to destroy journalism, and are journalists helping him?
Oh, well, thank you. What a question. Thank you. First of all, I didn't know Sir Harry Evans, but I knew Harry. Back when my wife and I, after the 92 campaign, she worked for President Bush and President Clinton, we got married. So we were going to, like everybody does, we were going to cash in and do a book. And Harry was the head of Random House, and Dick Snyder was the head of Simon & Schuster. So they decided that they would joint publish it. If you look at the spine of the book, it has the Random House imprint and Simon & Schuster. And the publishing press went nuts. This is the industry that published William Faulkner and Ernest Hemingway is now regaled itself to just gimmicks. So if you think of all the stuff that's happening in the United States now, is the gimmick of joint publishing was the end of, this is the end of publishing as we knew it when the book came out. So I was kind of, Harry had he was a very serious guy, he was very serious in publishing and journalism and everything else, but he had a wicked side that he liked to sell shit. And it was one of the more fun things that we did, to be the first book to be, who cares anymore, but it wasn't the decline of anything. But if you listen to, the whole publishing industry back then had a real smug attitude about itself. I don't think that's the case anymore, but right. Anyway.
Can you answer the question now? Can you answer the question now?
So what was the question you asked me?
Is Trump destroying journalism, and are journalists helping him to do that?
So what's happened in politics around the world is the manifestation of saying, we've met the enemy as us. Of course he is. But the Democrats are 75% responsible for Trump being president. Wait a minute, James, what are you talking? Yeah, 75%. We embraced the language of identity politics, which was jackassery on the first level. Everybody hated it. They hated it when it started. Then Biden stays in till July 21st of 2024. And then they decide we're not going to have any kind of contested process, in spite of the fact that President Obama was trying to call people that afternoon to say, just don't do this thing. This is created by Democrats. Trump's going from 54 to 38 is all created by him. He's done everything to himself. Whatever we've done has been the opposition, the press. And so the question becomes, how much of this is the press's fault? Because it's the easiest thing. We can all agree. We hate Republicans, we hate Democrats, but boy, do we really hate the press. I don't think it's the press's fault. I really don't. I mean, look, they're flawed. They're people like anybody else. Some do very stunningly good stuff. Some do very stunningly stupid stuff. But we got to get out of this attitude that somehow or another the press is dragging us down. We're all doing this shit to ourselves. The press didn't cause the decline of the United Kingdom. Brexit did. You did it to yourself. Okay? You just shot
hold a minute, James. There's a good point there, though, because I would argue Brexit happened in part because of the nature of our press. And I'll tell you something I think is happening in America now, is that, and I'm not talking about journalists who go out and do the job, some of the leadership figures in journalism, the business guys, they are bending the knee to Trump, even though they're then having private dinner parties saying the guy's a fascist. So they are helping him.
So you make the business guys. So what's happening in the U.S. press, could feature a little bit better than yours, is we have now corporate takeover. So Amazon owns the Washington Post. Well, they say, don't say anything bad about Trump because Amazon has 1 million interactions with the federal government a day. All right? Then Paramount wants to have a merger. Don't say anything about Trump on 60 Minutes. Or Disney owns ABC. So we'll just settle for $30 million. It's just graphed right in front of you. You don't have a case at all, but don't say anything. We'll just give them $30 million. And the people that criticized corporate ownership of the media actually had a point. All right, and we said we had to do this because they were coming in and buying these assets. I suspect the same thing is true here, where it's not your friendly reporter or your friendly on-air personality. It's these companies that have 1 million interactions with government that are now saying, don't say anything because we want to have a merger, or we don't want to get fined, or we don't want to be audited, or 1,000 other things.
That's a form of corruption. That's a form of corruption. That goes totally against the journalism that we've been talking about. Right, so what does... So he is trying to destroy journalism, and parts of the media industry are helping him by being cowards. Journalism should be about courage.
They're being capitalists, not cowards.
Are they being capitalists?
Okay, but
I think Bezos is a coward for doing what he did. I think Zuckerberg's a coward for doing what he did.
Because if I just owned the newspaper, I could take a hit. I could do this, I could do that. But if I own Disney, all right, I have business all over the world. I have business in Florida, which is a Republican state. I have business everywhere. I have all these interactions with government. So you saw it with Paramount. You're seeing it with the Washington Post. In journalism, you have this sort of myth, and I'm sure it's over here, but you can talk to it forever, where your obligation is to the truth. No, your obligation is to your shareholders. Sometimes shareholders in the truth don't have the same objective. And you got to understand that.
Yeah, but if we accept that, if we all just accept that and go with it, then journalism does kind of die. It does. It's happening.
But it's not, of course it's not the same thing. This is not Edward R. Murrow, in some basement in London in 1940, or whatever it is, okay? This is what it's come to, but I just cannot blame journalism for a lot of things that are going wrong in the United States, are going wrong even in the UK, are going wrong around the world. I think most of the wounds that we're watching right now are self-inflicted. Mm-hmm. And I can say corporate journalism, and they're beholden to other people, and they're just looking for trouble. If it leads, it bleeds. I could give you 1,000 cliches, which would all be true, but I don't think they get at the heart of the problem. The heart of the problem is self-inflicted. I mean, journalism contributes to it.
And it's all politics. You're saying Brexit screwed Britain, the Democrats got out of touch with the people they used to represent, and that's opened the door to Trump. But, we're here because this is about journalism and Harry Evans and honouring his name and what he stood for. And I just worry that one of the, Madeleine Albright, who you know well, knew well. Right. And she wrote that amazing book, Fascism: A Warning. Right. Not long before she died.
Right, sure.
I kind of worry that's where your country is right now. It's in the same state that she was warning about from the 30s in Europe that she grew up with. Is that over the top?
No. And people come to me all the time, wherever I am in the country, says, and what I like is people generally call me James. All right? And they said, I'm really worried. I'm really scared. And you know what I tell them? You should be. You should be. Okay? There's a lot to be scared of. And, you know, things that we didn't think were imaginable are now playing out every day. Mm-hmm. And if the opposition, if we're not smart, we could blow a gasket here. We really could. I've never, and I'm 80 years old. I was born on the day of the largest naval battle in history, October 25th, 1944, Lady Gulf. It was the day of the first kamikaze attack, by the way. It was on the day I came into this world. And I literally have never been more afraid than any point in my life. And I served in the Marine Corps during Vietnam. Thank God I didn't get shot at, but that's another story. I'd have probably been more afraid if I'd have been shot at. But I really think I cannot tell people in good conscience, oh, don't worry about it, we'll gut through this. That's not what I feel at all. I feel like it's an obligation to do everything that I can do or you can do to try to save this experiment or whatever the hell we got here. And it's at risk. I'm not going to bullshit you. I'm not going to tell you that I think the Atlantic Alliance is fine and it's all going to be great and we're just going to hang together or we'll hang separately or all that other bullshit. I don't believe that anymore. I think we're in real trouble.
Right. So how do we get out of trouble? And how much you say that Trump is 75% created by the Democrats, and then you look at other, the populist wave in other parts of the world, and, thank God for Carney and thank God for Albanese in Australia. It's not all going one way, but generally that's the kind of direction of travel.
Right.
And the Democrats, as you know, when I was with Tony Blair and you were with Clinton, we often look up to the Democrats as, they signal a way in the strategy and the political thinking. So where should they go and where are they going? And are there any leaders out there, because ultimately you need the leaders, are there any leaders out there that you see can actually get this thing back on track?
It's a great question, Alistair. I'm going to tell you something. I'll give you all the bad news, right? If we're in real trouble, we this, that. I'll give you the good news. The talent in today's Democratic Party, as of 14:45 hours, universal time coordinated. The talent that exists in today's Democratic Party is the highest level of talent I've seen in any political party in my lifetime. Understand that. There's cavalry out there. And the faster that we can get this cavalry out front, the better off we're going to be. So when Stephen A. Smith says, I got to run because there's no talent in the party, I'd say, Stephen, you're drafting for the New York Giants. You don't know talent when you see it. I got news for you. There's talent out there, big time. And we just got to get people exposed to it, because the image of the Democratic Party, and I know this from a million people call me in from focus groups, if you say to Democrats, two things come to mind. They're old and they're for the cities. And so everybody's enamored with the Bernie AOC tour. Good. Let's take an 83-year-old and somebody from Queens and put them out in middle America to defy the image that we're an old urban party. That's how much goddamn... And then let's use a word that no one knows what the fuck it means, oligarch.
Which
People
word?
know what fat cats are, a billionaire. No one knows what an oligarch is. Yeah. I'm serious. We go and use coded language.
Right, so you're not a fan of Bernie and AOC, but you say there's this great talent.
Right.
Give us some names. Who should we...
This is as we say, as judges say, this is an illustrative but hardly exclusive list. Andy Beshear, the governor of Kentucky, who wins by 5 points in the state, we lose by 25. Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania. Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland. Chris Murphy, the senator from New Jersey. J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois. Mitch Landrieu, the former mayor of New Orleans, the former lieutenant governor of the state of Louisiana. Raphael Warnock, who's an unbelievable communicator. Gretchen Whitmer. I'd throw Newsom in there if you want to, the governor. But there's talent there, man. There are people that can string a sentence together. The people, you wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't know that, but I'm saying there's real talent. I'm forgetting people, and for God's sakes, don't tell me about it. I want some son of a bitch calling me and say, well, you didn't mention my name, James.
So hold on. So, right, you gave us some good names there.
All right.
Right. And I've heard of most of them, and I agree with you. I think some of them are really good. I really like Chris Murphy.
Right. I'll give you some real comers. Ruben Gallego and Alyssa Slotkin. Ruben is going to be on a national ticket at the latest 2036, probably 2032. Slotkin is going to be on a national ticket. She's 38 years old. These are people that have real political radar, have real instincts, that are really good at what they do. There are people out there. That's the main thing I want you to know. You have every reason to be afraid. You have every reason to be depressed. But I got to tell y'all, there is Calvary out there.
Okay.
You just got to get it.
So that's the people, right? We need the people. And what is the message that the Democrats right now should be pushing? Should they be looking at why they lost? Should they be having a sort of deep dive post-mortem into why they lost? Should they actually be starting to think about attacking Trump better than they do, more effective than they do? And how much should this be about a future policy agenda? And where is it?
So the struggle of Western politics is the eternal struggle between people that are trying to make it and people that already have it made. All right? That's the construct that people look at life. And as long as we start the construct with the people that are trying to make it, and then what flows from there will take you to really good places. And if you, time and time again, you give examples of how, and you will have plenty of examples of how they're for the people that already have it made. And if you got to start at that position. And the best way, and and sometimes cliches actually work. There's a reason that people said, well, education is the key, because actually it does help to have some skills and knowledge. But I think if we start with that, and you also start with a real, which I have, a real revulsion to identity politics. Last night yesterday I saw Jeff Goldberg. And I was telling you that I read a piece in the Atlantic by a guy named Thomas Williams, and he said something that really struck with me. What quote, wokeism word I hate, is the triumph of identity over humanity. No, that's the wrong order. Humanity first, identity second. Okay? And if Democrats follow that, in basically, in whatever issue that you're faced with, how do we help people that are trying to make it? How do we take a dental hygienist that is a single mother making $63,000 a year with 2 kids? How do we get her and her kids a better future? Take any image that you want, put it in your face, put it in your head. The Hispanic couple in Las Vegas, that one's a sheriff's deputy and another's a craps dealer. What do we do to see that these kids get to educate their kids, they get to have a house, a mortgage, they get to buy maybe 4 dolls at Christmas, all right? And as long as we have that construct, we're not going to lose. When we get out of that construct, then we open ourselves. And so, I'll give you an example. Ilhan Omar says that white men are responsible for most of the deaths in the United States. So let me get this straight. 69% of the people I'm stuck on that number, I don't know. But 69% of people going to vote are white. Of that, 48.5% are males. So, I don't know, my rough math is 33%. Let's go out and piss off 33% of the people that vote, and that's a smart strategy. And the people that agree with her. There are people that actually agree with her. And I think these, honestly, I think these people are more trouble than they're worth.
But you're kind of saying, you're kind of saying what they do that they shouldn't. I'm looking for things that they don't do that they should. What are the Democrats not doing that they should be doing on messaging, on strategy, and on policy? Because if they don't fix that...
You're talking about right at this minute?
I'm talking about in advance of trying to get rid of this, at the end of Trump, what comes next? Because they have to, let's say Vance is the candidate next time. I mean, to a lot of British and European people, he strikes people as even worse than Trump in some ways. So what do we look to the Democrats to kind of be better than they've been. What have they got to do to rise up?
Okay, so right now, my answer is they're doing a good job of blowing themselves up. Let me just talk about the value of pulling back, of retreat as a strategy. Oh, my God, man, we got to go. No, actually, we won the Revolutionary War because George Washington retreated from Long Island in New York. It wasn't British soldiers, it was German soldiers, but forget that fact. And then he moves to Valley Forge, and we went Trenton. In World War II, you take the British experience in World War II, actually Dunkirk. That was hardly a glorious victory. That was not Waterloo. That was not Trafalgar. That was a retreat. But you know what you did? You came back in Normandy, right? You fought another day. What I'm saying that the Democrats should do is a gas. Let them keep coming. Now they're going to have it'd be too technical here. They're going to have the debt limit extension. They're going to have the tax cuts. They're going to have reconciliation. Then you come in and say, they want to cut taxes for people making over $500,000 a year. Why don't we raise taxes, take that money, because no one can buy a house in the United States today, particularly young people, and put it in a first-time mortgage buyer's interest rate relief fund or rental relief fund. In other words, we see the problem you're faced with. The ultimate people that are trying to make it is a 28-year-old. That's who's struggling right now. And we don't act like we see these people. And if we don't have to do a lot. You got the wrong party. You want to give people a tax break that already have it made. We want to change the priorities to people that are trying to make it. I want to give a 28-year-old an interest rate that they have a chance to buy a house at. And if you do that, 1,000 good things are going to happen to you. 1,000 good things are going to happen to you. And don't talk about who's running a goddamn state track meet, because you don't care. Let somebody else deal with that issue. So that's what I'm saying. We don't have any power, but what we can do is use examples that are coming our way every time. And they're talking about, I was talking to some finance guys last night, and I was at, I like to name drop. I was at Tina's event at the House of Lords, and I ran into these city guys.
Did they let you in dressed like that?
Yeah. And you're talking about the power of the bond market and interest rates. I love to drop names. All right, but the point is, people are going to get clobbered by high interest rates because of what we're doing. And the cost of money is also, that's a commodity. Money is a commodity. It's like an egg. The more it costs you for money, the less you're going to get. And I just think we got to take our spots and show people which side they're on and which side we're on. And they're giving us opportunities to do that.
Okay, we've got a few seconds left. Just a couple of things. Couple of things to end on. Yes or no? Will Trump? This is yes or no. Will Trump try and get a third term?
Will he what?
Try and get a third term.
No.
Okay.
That's what we call shucking and jiving.
Okay.
Okay. Does everybody know what shucking and jiving is?
Will America give guarantees of security to Ukraine, ongoing?
Under this administration? is where can they make the most money? I'm serious. I'm not being cynical at all.
So that's a no.
I think he's going to have a hard time turning his back totally on Ukraine. I've been there like 5 times. Because there's not a minor part of people that identify as Republicans that are upset about this. Their coalition is not united on this issue. I think he would turn on them if his instinct would be if there's somehow or another they could open a hotel in Moscow or something. But I'm that cynical. I'm not. I know exactly what I'm saying. I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm that cynical. But a lot of stuff is going to play out here. And Xi is in Moscow and they're making deals, and Marjorie Taylor Greene is criticizing them for wanting to do Israel's bidding in Iran. Again, my strategy is let them keep going. Let them keep going.
Okay, and final question. Does Melania love Donald?
Melania?
Melania, does she love Donald Trump? And listen,
she got a
I know that. It's a rhetorical question.
I know, but she's got it.
How can you? The one thing I love you dearly, right?
All right.
I've never understood.
All right.
Because I'm a very tribal political person.
All right. Sure.
How can you marry somebody who's a Republican? How can you do that?
So I'll tell you exactly, Alistair. I'm inspired by Woody Allen. He said the good thing about being bisexual, it doubles your chances to get a date. I thought about it and I couldn't do it. I tried. My God, I tried. But if you look like me and you limit yourself to Democrats, you need a bigger playing field, dude. You're not going to walk in the bar and somebody's going to say that.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it was just pragmatic decision.
James Carville. Come on.